Welcome to the Dean's List, engaging conversations at the intersection of entrepreneurship, artistic expression, and holistic health. Experience wellness in full color, where fashion, beauty, and art blend with body, mind, and soul. Embark on a journey that dresses your aspirations in style, paints your life with beauty, and sculpts your well-being in every dimension. This is the Dean's List, where inspiration is always in session. Welcome to the Dean's List, where we delve into the dynamic fusion of vibrant well-being, creative genius, and savvy business strategies. I'm your host, Allison Dean, and today we're focusing our lens on the visionary world of eyewear with Katie O'Connell, one half of the dynamic sister duo behind Society of the Spectacle, the place where I found my signature glasses, and as Katie can tell you, many, many, many others too. Alongside her sister, Katie has crafted a haven for eyewear enthusiasts, blending fashion with function in their meticulously curated collection. From vintage treasures to cutting-edge designs, their store stands as a testament to the sisters' passion for style and their belief in eyewear as a form of self-expression. Join us today as we explore the story behind Society of the Spectacle, discovering how the sisters have framed their business around the art of seeing and being seen. Hi, Katie.
Ooh, that's a hell of an introduction, honey. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to can it and seal it.
You earned that intro, Katie.
Oh,
so
stop.
You've earned it.
Pshaw.
All right. So I want you to start by sharing the journey from, how you started in the eyewear industry and eventually becoming the co-owner of one of the most celebrated eyewear stores in LA. Tell us about that journey.
So my best friend in the whole world, who's still my best friend to this day, we talk every single day, was very nearsighted. And when we were in high school, he subscribed to Interview Magazine by Andy Warhol. And that was like our Bible. And so that was just always around, every copy, piles on his bedroom floor, wherever. Mm-hmm. And in that magazine were ads for an eyeglass store in Los Angeles on Melrose Avenue called LA Eyeworks, which we just like. And they had the coolest ad campaign with really interesting, kind of cutting edge, newer celebrities, I guess you could say. Though, yes, many were celebrities, but they're often early in their careers, newness. And anyways, long story short, he got a job there some years later. And then I heard from him one day and he said, there's an opening at our warehouse. And I was in a job I didn't love and I was ready for a change. And I took that job. I took a massive pay cut and just did it just to get in on it. And I never looked back. It was a great decision. I worked for LA Arcs for 23 years. I became one of their sales managers for the United States and Europe and other parts. And anyways, in that job, I saw hundreds of optical stores all over the world. Like every way you could do an optical store, I got my eyes on it and the feel of it and saw some magical things. Mm-hmm. So anyways, my sister also joined the company a couple years in, and she also did field sales, was out in the world. And it was her who said she had a dream one night that she was sweeping in front of her own store. And that started the conversation. We just started talking about it, and we were living in an area of Los Angeles called Highland Park, and we knew that it was going to be, growing. And we got in. We got a shop and just paid nothing for it, and spent that year was such a great year. We just spent the time, dreaming and renovating and creating the whole business itself. And it was really great. And that was 17 years ago. So yeah, that's how it started. Just like with a magazine and a dream.
With a magazine, like that's a good billboard. With a magazine and a dream, anything is possible. Okay, so I want to know, once you found your location that you've been at for 17 years, mm-hmm. were there any pivotal moments that you recall, or any challenges that you had to overcome that, you still remember?
I mean, the biggest thing that happened to us right off the bat was the advent of social media being in wide use. I mean, it was 2007 when we opened, and um, people were just starting to get iPhones, and apps were just starting to happen. And I think a couple years later, several other phone companies got a hold of the iPhones, and people were just using this new technology in greater and greater force. And the biggest app that made a difference to our business was Yelp, which I had never heard of. And someone said, I yelped you. And I said, why? Who are you? Anyways, it still is a really successful app about finding things. And it's really a great app about not just restaurants and stuff, but really finding reviews for services, dentists or, car repair and eyeglasses. Mm-hmm. So we got in on that. It wasn't our choice. Our customers made that choice. And I think that has been a real key thing for all of us to be aware of, is that our customers really know more than us a lot about what they need. And so when they started doing that, it just really broke open our visibility, because we opened that store thinking, well, there's a lot of cars going by. We should do pretty good here. Maybe we should have a big sign, thinking very brick and mortar. But in fact, everything had become obviously more technologically based. So what it did is it brought us business from all over the city. Whatever they saw in those Yelp reviews appealed to them. And that has been, I think, the major success of many businesses, because those reviews are subjective and they have a flavor. So there's a lot of ways to talk about getting good eyeglasses. And the way people talked about how we served them was such a thing that I think the right kind of people would come in, because they'd read those reviews, it would resonate with them. And it just kind of has a feedback loop where people just, we don't have a shop where people go, oh, it's the most stunning, elegant store in America with the finest eyewear of every sort imaginable. That is not us. We're definitely more customer focused. We're very friendly. We're very low key. I don't need anyone to be fancy. I prefer not. But certainly we all want to be stylish. We all want to look good. But yeah, that tool really brought it to us. It was the marketing campaign we didn't know could exist or have. It just happened to us.
I love that so much when
those
wild, unexpected, favorable things occur.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, obviously, customer service is something that I appreciate so much from you both, but I think it's also the selection of what you both have in the store, because what you're seeing at your store is not what you see at when you go to the eye doctor, and there's a very specific, just set of stuff there. You know what I mean? It definitely is, you're walking into your store and it's different. And so I think those people that appreciate the things that are different and a little bit more unique and a little bit more special, I think that combined with the awesome customer service just made it that much more of a winning combination. But I think that kind of, leans into, because the eyewear industry is constantly evolving, are there trends or innovations that excite you about it? In terms of how you stock your store, how do those decisions get made? You know what I mean? Is it, you see it and you're like, yes? Is it something else? Especially now that you have 17 years of customer history at the store. How much does that play into the decisions of how you buy things?
Well, for sure, it's point of view, right? So the biggest thing I want to go when I walk into any kind of retail or restaurant or any kind of environment, I want to see someone's point of view. It could be something I totally don't love or relate to, but when it's pure, I definitely get off on it. I just went to one of the Harley stores, the Glendale Harley, which is a really famous Harley store. That place is it is such a refined point of view. It is so their brand. The people were awesome. All the merchandise was amazing. And, I got excited about Harley Davidson's. I've never ridden a motorcycle. I never will. But when it works, it works. So for sure, we want people to feel a point of view. and be exposed to something, hopefully, that they haven't been exposed to before.
Mm-hmm.
Most eyeglass stores in the mainstream I always say, are extremely medium. They're medium sizes, medium colors, medium shapes. They're meant to be sort of an everyman, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But in this big fat city we live in, we have the freedom where we don't have to, meet every need. We can have a point of view, and people can respond to it. So our biggest influence, of course, comes from LA Eyeworks. LA Eyeworks, the designers there are so informed. They started working in eyeglass stores when they were 16 years old in high school. They've seen everything. They've seen so many changes. They come from, that last generation of shapes and forms, and they, their designs really respond to kind of the classics and then take them to the next level. And that's really so exciting for us, right? Because I love something that looks amazing but is very innovative. So it could be a really classic shape, but in hot pink. That is my favorite thing. And of course, interesting shapes as well. A fresh new shape that actually looks amazing and it doesn't just look crazy. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. So yeah, we're definitely informed by our point of view. Our point of view comes from that which is before us. And I hope people feel that, because I want them to see things they hopefully haven't seen before. That's why I want them to get in their car and, come on over,
Yes. I mean, at least in all of my times that I have frequented the store, I think, I mean, maybe not every time, but there was definitely more than one occasion where I discovered a brand new brand that I had never seen or heard of before. And I think that's one of the joys, I think, of your store too, is you just don't know what you're gonna, like, what awaits you. It's like an adventure that you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's very sweet. I appreciate that.
It's
That's
true.
our goal.
It's true.
It's what we wait for. We dream of this.
Anyway,
The thing is that the eyeglass business has been so overwhelmed by massive corporate takeovers that have sucked up all the companies, sucked up where they're made, sucked up where they're sold. There's a huge segment of the business that's been mainstreamed and corporately run. What did that do? It created a vacuum. What did happen to that vacuum? 1,000 small little companies filled in the space. So just like fashion should. I mean, when I started in 1988, we were trying to convince people that eyewear was fashionable because they were coming from a very, medical place, I guess you could say. But now it has truly come true. I mean, people consider eyewear a fashion accessory, and the amount of selection out there and choices really reflects that. So from high to low, there's just 1,000 ways to do it, just like any great retail store. You can just, distill it and tailor it to your point of view. So we're lucky in a way that though things get more expanded and more mainstreamed, there's always room for something new, something different.
Great. Yes, that is an inspiring statement. So I love that. Okay. Can you share a particularly memorable or perhaps challenging experience that you had, like curating or sourcing eyewear? And did that experience help shape your approach to how you wanted to run your business?
Yeah, I mean, when I worked at LA Eyeworks, I used to do all these in-store events, and so I had that entire collection, which was huge. I think it had 80 models or 100 models and 10 to 12 colors each. I mean, it was a really huge amount of choice. And so part of my job was to take all those glasses into even eye doctors' offices and play with that product and have all that choice. And so knowing that I had like a little one, a big one, something for an old man, something for a little kid. I mean, I knew that collection really well, obviously. And fit being my favorite thing to arrive at with a client, when you have a huge amount of selection and can get them something that fits, that to me is magic. So when we go to help people, if someone comes in with like a huge head, it's like the amount of choices is like slimmed down, but I want to make sure I have enough so that person can feel like they're shopping. So too, with that tiny little, person with like, tiny little features, especially my favorite thing especially I guess for women, is to give them like an oversized look, but they're little, but it doesn't look awkward. So it's like, I call it a big small. And it those kind of things. I mean, it's just like fit. And so that they can get their fashion agenda accomplished, because it's like there's styles out there that people want, but when you're really tiny, when you're really huge, if it's a kind of a vintage inspired round frame for a guy with a giant head, it's like, how do we get there? So having that selection, as well as, styles and colors, having fit selection is really important to us. That meets our needs. That's how we have memorable experiences. It's just when things fit, gosh, it's like jeans or something. Like, how you find like that perfect pair of jeans and you need 5 pair because it's like, this only happens once, When that happens with glasses, it's exciting. It's rewarding. I was going to carry a very popular, I did carry a very popular mainstream brand. And I made a phone call to the salesman and I said, look, I'm opening this store. It was in a part of LA that I knew he didn't have any clients, and he agreed to meet with me. And I was still working at LA Iwerks, and he got to my store a little bit before me. I had left LA Iwerks to get there. I had left earlier on my lunch or something. And he called me while I was en route and said, look, I can't sell to you. I don't know where I am. This does not look like the kind of store we're going to open. This is not right. And I said, well, I'm on my way. I have taken the time off of my job. You agreed to meet with me. I would appreciate if you would just meet me, shake my hand, and, acknowledge that we agreed to meet. And he goes, fine. Do you have air conditioning in there? And I go, yes, I do. Just a total snob, weirdo. He didn't, he just sat, he crossed his arms and harumphed and didn't want to sell to me. And I said, okay. And I happened to know the president of his company. I was not throwing my weight around, but I did know them. And he left, and I just told that person what happened. And they're like, oh my God, totally. Here, have the collection. Of course we would sell to you. He just didn't know. He didn't know his job. He didn't know who I was, who we were, what we were doing. He didn't know LA. He didn't know what that part of town was about and became. And so, yeah, I like that story in the sense that like, it teaches me that I don't know. I'm not a know-it-all, and I always have to be careful. You don't want that hubris to take control. You always have to be a listener, and pay attention. So, yeah.
And the same goes for people trying to sell things, like in that person's, I think, seat.
Yeah. It's like, I don't need someone giving me attitude. Like, it's just, I think that whole sort of snobby salesperson thing is basically going out, I hope is going out the window, considering that everyone can order anything on their couch, in their pajamas. I think that anytime we have any social interaction, be it a restaurant or gosh, even meeting a friend for a coffee or obviously shopping, it has to be an elevated experience. You have to really be present and kind of honor the presence of each other, because we're getting a lot more isolated somehow. So when we're together, we got to make it mean something.
Yeah. And I think there always needs to be a respect. Like no matter what, because it's not a way to conduct oneself, to just operate.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things is I was doing an event. It wasn't in LA. It was in El Paso, actually. And a lady came in with like flip-flops and dirty, stretchy pants and a big kind of messy t-shirt. And, I don't judge. I didn't judge. I was working with her. She ended up buying thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And it, in kind of finishing up, she was like, oh yeah, I was out in the garden and I forgot you guys were here and I just wanted to come over real fast. So, whoever I was talking to had plenty of dough and they don't have to show it. And that's, I love that, first of all. I love that kind of, I don't know, I always want people to be themselves, even if being themselves could be being very glamorous, like hooray. But for some, it's not so much. So
as long as it's
I love that
with respect and kindness, right?
Yep.
And yeah.
100%. Can't judge.
No, you totally can't. Okay. I love that story actually. So I like also that story is the power of having a network and why it's really important to lean into your network when you have to. And in this case, you got the collection you wanted because you knew people. Where
Yeah.
I love that so much. Okay, so given that you've been in this biz for a while, I want to know how being an entrepreneur has changed or grown you personally. What does that look like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, whenever you open a store on a street with traffic going by and, the internet ticking away, what happens? People drop in.
Yeah.
And for my sister and I, it has just expanded our lives incredibly. I mean, we've met so many people so many friends. I mean, that alone, I mean, the fact that you can say that opening a retail store led to an enrichment of your life and the amount of good friends that you've made, that to me is the biggest, most rewarding fact of it, is just that enrichment of my life, meeting interesting people with talent. It's just incredible. And that would have never happened, obviously, if I was cooped up in an office or, whatever that might be. And I, I often wonder in business school, which I've never been to, if they mention that, because it is the most rewarding aspect of it to me. So yeah, we are highly enriched. I mean, it's also an enrichment of empathy, even when you meet people who aren't so pleasant, which I love actually, because I find it so interesting and it's rare. But when people are being really unpleasant, I just always have to remember, what is the weight that they're carrying? Like, what did they walk in with? What were they born with? What happened yesterday or whatever? I mean, having that empathy, again, is just like another way I feel I'm enriched. And that changes for me and it grows for me all the time. I try not to get offended or frustrated by people. It's like when I'm having a tough time, I'm always like, I take a minute and try to think about like, wow, why is this person like this? Not only is it like interesting to me, but and maybe I'll never know, but it's just to be, centered and open to what they are and what they're coming from. Cause we just don't know,
That's well said.
You don't know.
Yeah. And I think, I think both you and Amy, it's like you can gift people, like a sliver of love in their day that they don't necessarily expect. But I think because, you lead with that empathy, I think you really do create those repeat customers, because even those like kind of more sour individuals, they still know that you both are delivering the goods. So, like I'm sure some of those people, and you probably can like very clearly think of a few, they probably return to you. And that was
Sometimes, yeah. The real problem makers, they swirl back in.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Amy, that's your client. She's here. She's here. And it'll be like, she likes you way better than me. Or he,
Oh, that's awesome.
whatever.
Oh, I love that. All right. Okay. So obviously eyewear, as I can be a testament to this, but eyewear plays a significant role in someone's personal style and their confidence. So I want to know your view on the intersection of fashion and someone's wellness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, clear vision, great lenses, fit, which we've talked about. I think too is that when it's a more intimate transaction, right? Different from a shoe or earrings or what have you, to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not if you're really into those accessories. But for me, it's the eyes. And, years ago, I asked an eye doctor, I go, what are eyes? Like, what are they made out of? Like, is it a gland? Is it an organ? Like, what is it? What is the glob of your eye? And he literally said, well, I guess you could say it's a piece of your brain, because it's sort of wired directly to the brain right there in your head. And I've never forgotten that, because, when we're fitting people and doing measurements, we're like, right there with their eyes. And, it's just such an intimate sphere, to be in with a person. And I like it. Obviously you have to make eye contact, which is so important and so polite and correct to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts there somehow that, we're connecting and getting them to their visual goals? Is the prescription right? Are the lenses right? When they put them on, do they have an aha? Yes, this is great. These are all the goals. And of course, that is ultimate wellness, right? Is being able to see well and feel well. Those are so important. Just feeling well about yourself, how you look.
I mean, I think it's a component for sure. Obviously, you want to be able to see, but I also think that there is something to be said, and someone like me who has many, many, many pairs, there is, I think, a notable difference for me of why I always turn to this pair, because there is something to be said for when you find the pair of glasses that really like just meshes well with your face.
Yeah, no, it's magic. It's magic.
There is something magical about that, right? I mean, you can have so many different pairs of glasses that you can see through.
Right.
And they could be fashionable too. But, I look at photos of myself with some of the other pairs of glasses I have that are very fashionable and very amazing. And I still kind of go, not as good as these.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of people will come to, what do you think's best for my face? I'm an oval and, blah, blah, blah. And I always tell people, I go, look, if you want a round frame, we're going to find the right round frame. If you want a square frame, you're going to find the right square frame. It's way more subtle than that. Like, it isn't just like, you're a triangle, you need a circle.
Yeah.
It's way more subtle. And so much of it is about like the height of our brows, the shape of our eye, the shape of our cheekbones, our and the noses. Gosh, everyone's nose is so different. And the nose is such an incredibly vital part of fit. And I mean, actually just yesterday I was helping a lady and she was trying on this frame and I didn't quite see her wearing it. I go, I don't know about that one. That one has a really wide bridge. That probably won't fit you. And I kind of turned towards her and I was like, oh, she had a really wide bridge. She was really little, but she had this really wide bridge and it fit her. I was like, oh, no, wait. So I'd already I basically told her she had a wide, well, whatever. I did. But anyways, all those subtleties matter. It's how they land. Having someone who's hard to fit is a challenge for sure. And really fun to sort of, do all the math in your head and figure out, with your stock, how are we going to solve this puzzle? It is like a puzzle to me.
It is.
So I like it.
Yeah. It's a fun puzzle. Okay. I want to know, what does wellness mean to you, Katie?
Well, to me personally, it's definitely, personal wellness starts at a really great night's sleep. I am a champion sleeper. I will admit it. It's no big deal for me to good night's sleep, but I do depend on it. I mean, I kind of have grown used to the fact that I can just hard go to sleep. If it ever, the very, very few times in my life I couldn't sleep were just a nightmare. Obviously movement, working out or walking. I got an electric bike recently. I have knee problems, so I do walk and I can walk, but the bike's a little bit better. The electric bike is very excellent. I often like passing those guys in the stretchy clothes on the 10 speeds or whatever, the real bikers. I like cruising right by.
Yeah.
Hello.
Right.
It's a chubby lady heading by. See you. But you do get your heart rate up. It's good for me. So I'm enjoying that in the crazy traffic of LA, where I take every back street and try to be on the sidewalk. Oops, but I do. So yes, movement, obviously sleep. It's really, I have a tough time staying hydrated. So I have like one of those giant jugs that people have. I know it's embarrassing, but I do it because it just it's there and I tend to it. So the simple things, right? Eating right, sleeping, exercise. That's all.
Is there like a word that comes to mind for you that equates to wellness?
I guess calm, right? Because we could get very stressed out in this world and you can make a big pile of stress. And I always, try to have my gratitude and my sense of calm I'm older now. So I'm learning that I can power through basically anything. So when you have that confidence, you find that calm, I kind of depend on it to say, look, we got this.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Calm.
It's going to be okay.
Okay. So daily wellness non-negotiables for you: resting, some exercise in there, eating well. Is there anything else, like if you don't start your day with, it's not like as
Oh,
great
for
of a
sure. I
day?
start my day every single day with the most delicious coffee in the world made by my husband.
Oh,
And
okay.
we sit together. We started when we first started dating. We just sit together. We don't talk.
Just sit.
We look at our phones. I read the paper. I do my puzzles, but we sit there. It is like a thing.
Mhm.
It's like it's like a weird, I mean, it's very strange, but we do it every day
Oh,
unless there's an appointment or something. But so being together, just existing
yeah.
in similar space.
Yeah. But I think that there is something to be said for that because there's like an energy transfer still that's happening. When you have
Yeah.
someone that you love that you can start your day with, I think that's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
It attributes to, I think, that reinforcement of calm because it's like that
Yes.
reassuring love that you have right as your day starts, right?
Right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there. I think that's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have any memorable stories maybe that illustrate how proper eyewear has impacted someone's health and well-being? Like anything that comes to mind that just really sticks out for you?
Yeah, there was a real formative thing that happened. When I started at LA, I worked in their warehouse, but I also worked at their retail store. And since I had no skills
Mhm.
at the time, I used to be at the door. So they got so busy in the 80s and 90s that they had to lock the door because there's so much traffic. It's such a different time. There's so much traffic on Melrose, a lot of tourists, a lot of looky-loos. So a lot of people would, pop into the store and they literally had to shut the door so they could, keep an eye on things, keep an eye on the clients. So I was the door manager and I had like 3 frames that were in the shelves next to me that I became very familiar with.
Mhm.
And one day this guy came in and he had like really sad, bad eyewear. He was a younger guy, but looking very not okay. Bad lenses. But the frames that stood next to me, there was one that I thought might look good on him. And again, I'm new, but I like, what about this one? And he like tried it on and he like really liked it. And he ended up buying it. He ended up going to another salesperson and buying it. Then a week later, or whenever they were ready, I happened to be there when he picked him up. And I was not helping him. I was at the door and I saw him look at himself in the mirror with that new frame, with those gorgeous new lenses. And it was like he loved himself. It was like he found, another level of self enhancement and self love, and it was just such a look that I'll never get out of my head.
Mhm.
And those kind of transformations are so rewarding. I mean, if I could do that every day for people, it's the best. I mean, as much as I love helping my customers that have, a lot of eyewear and we're trying to find something amazing. And that's super rewarding too. It's someone who comes from a little bit lesser place and starts with their choice and has discovered that they can look so much better.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's almost like you would need like 24/7 cameras in your store to capture those moments that, like, honestly, you don't necessarily know you're witnessing that moment until like later, right?
Yeah.
But it's like those things where I can only imagine, Katie, how many of those moments actually exist within your store, that have happened within your store, right? That like I mean, I don't even remember my face that I made when I put these glasses on for the first time, right? Like I don't, but I feel like that's an interesting thing. Like had that been on camera, I'd be curious what that looks like. I don't
Yeah.
really. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
rainbows are flying out of your head.
Yeah,
I
right.
hope
I'm
so.
like,
It'd be my goal.
what cherubs are overhead right now? Okay, so we obviously know that LA is a very competitive market, and we also know that the store has been very successful for 17 years now. So brand presence is obviously a thing, and customer centric, focus is a thing. Have there been other strategies that you think have been really effective in the success of the store?
Yeah, it's definitely speed. We have our own lab. We cut our own lenses. That actually cuts the arrival time way back. And people are often like, oh, really? They already went? Which, that's a magical thing. A
Mhm.
lot of times when we get eyewear through an eye doctor, they send it out to a larger lab. That can take time. There's different levels of labs and different types of insurances and things that they're dealing with. And that can be time consuming.
Mhm.
So when we're doing it ourselves, we definitely can beat them out, So that's part of the service level. Also, like when you're fitting people with glasses and you're doing all the measurements, um, the fact that you're cutting them yourself as well, it's just a nice flow through in terms of the quality control.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice touch. Also, we are able to take people's vintage eyewear, things that are more delicate, again, because we're doing it ourselves. We can definitely, um, help people out. I love that. Like when people bring me their grandpa's glasses or something they found at Goodwill for, 45 cents or something. If they're in good shape, I love it.
Yeah.
I just love taking care of them. So there's stuff like that that helps.
Well, and I think a lot of people now know to come to you both for when there's like glasses that are damaged. Because oftentimes, if you go to your eye doctor, they're not going to touch that stuff, right? There's a very specific, I think, thing at eye doctor offices where the opticians will do like a certain amount of things, but not, like you both go above and beyond to really service and make sure that if a pair of glasses needs attention, you are at least willing to try and help.
Yes. A lot of times you get in the world of all retail, you get a lot of no's, right? No, we can't. No, we're not allowed. No, it's against the rules. So when you're an owner operator, all that goes out the window. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if something's really delicate or, on its last legs, we'll have a discussion about it. And I'm like, it's on its last legs. I could probably do this. If something bad happens, let's be aware.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just a hands-on approach and also experience. I mean, a lot of retail establishments, and I'm talking all of them, they don't necessarily pay for expertise. So you can be in a clothing store or any kind of retail thing. Like I said, that person is an hourly wage worker, no offense, no problem there, but they may not know their industry. And there's a difference there. There's a difference about what we feel we're capable of doing. The tricks of the trade, as we say, these are things, learning about eyewear is very, it's almost like a handed down, kind of from one experienced person to another, from a newbie to a journeyman. I mean, there's things we've learned and from people that we've known in the industry. So that matters. I mean, you get a sense of it. I just remember all my life when I would see my boss at LAX just hold frames and touch them and how she looked at them and considered them. It's just, decades of knowledge. I mean, you cannot, it's like a tailor, right? I mean, you can't go to tailor school and become a tailor. You have to work with that product and that skill till you become a hand at it. And really with her, I saw that I am never going to be the master that they were, but it definitely, I got my eyes on it and I got to breathe that air. So it's cool. I hope it shows. I hope it matters.
Oh, I mean, yes, Katie. Yes. I think it does. Yes. Okay. So obviously we are now in the digital realms of things and there's been a pretty big rise of online only eyewear brands. Obviously they offer convenience, very competitive pricing. So how do you perceive the role of like a brick and mortar store in this kind of market of today?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I love the online advent because I think people are looking at eyewear more as a accessory and an affordable accessory. As we know, all this glamorous eyewear we're talking about is not inexpensive. So for sure, the fact that you can get a frame on such and such for $15 or what have you, but you buy 5 of them. I mean, I love that idea. Like I love the idea. A girl just brought me a frame she got online. It was clear plastic and it had googly eyes embedded in it. Like the white eye with the little black googly thing that shook when I'm like, that is the most fun. She goes, can you put lenses in it? And I'm like, well, let me look at it. It's very inexpensive, obviously a quote unquote cheap pair, but it was awesome. So I'm all for it. I mean, we all know we can get lots of stuff for super cheap, for anything from food to flip-flops. But then we know that when we want to make a more considered choice, that we build on that foundation and can make a more inspired or, a more fancy choice or just, a nicer choice. So I like it. I think it inspires people to think of their eyewear in multiples, especially with men. A lot of guys got on the Warby Parker wagon and I'm all for it. I mean, they'll hang them off their shirt and come in, oh, these are just my Warby Parkers. But what I really need is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. And those are great for when you're mowing the lawn or working out. And this is your fancy. And so
Mm.
again, that wardrobeification, if that's a word, is so important. So online, and also, I mean, like we know with all online shopping, I mean, there's lots of mistakes you can make out there, obviously in terms of fit, etc. So, if you find your way with something and it's filling out your stash of great glasses, I'm all for it. I think the more we're consuming, the more who play, the more it works out for everyone, right? That we're just doing more with our glasses. I love that.
I think it's an interesting call out though that you just said, because I think people that don't, I mean, I admittedly have plenty of pairs of glasses, and I too don't necessarily understand all the components that one must consider when you are fitting yourself with a pair of lenses. Like if you're not wearing just a pair of glasses with, no prescription, that's a different story. But when you have prescription, the amount of things that you must consider. And so this is where the challenge could arise from a lot of these online stores, since I literally had an experience that I'm currently navigating, in fact, because they ask for your PD, but
Mhm.
they don't ask for optical center.
Yes.
And so I think this is an interesting thing. Obviously, the people that are listening to this episode, they won't know what I'm saying because this is definitely a view situation. But I think it's really important to note when you have glasses on, most in the online realms, they would put my optical center here, meaning they would suspect my eyes are going to land here with how they fit me, right? But really, my optical center is up here on these glasses. And
Yes.
so depending on how the lens is cut, if I didn't come to you, obviously, and like you actually made these so that I can see through them, if my optical center had been here, I would probably be, having some headaches, or like I could be affected, which is exactly what has happened with a pair of online glasses I got, right? Because they put my optical center in some place and they never asked that question. Although it's also kind of like, I don't know how you would do that, because I mean, optical center is obviously going to change depending on the pair of glasses, but they're saying that they're not at fault for this. Like I had to tell them my optical center. I'm like, I don't even know these glasses, so it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway, I think that's a testament to some of the challenges of ordering online, especially prescription glasses, versus coming to see two people in person and really being able to understand fit and taking those measurements and the importance of that. Because if we're talking wellness, Katie, and you're getting
Yeah.
headaches from your glasses, you are not well.
Right. Yeah. And it's the funny thing that they do leave out of that uh, online, interface that you're doing with whatever company. They take your interpupillary distance. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
That can be somewhat accurate with with a person doing it on their own, better with a professional.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the height of the glasses. So then when you have a pair that don't fit so well, especially like, let's talk about that person with a wide bridge, the glasses will end up riding higher than they
Right.
should. So you can't even know that because you haven't looked at the glasses yet. You haven't chosen them. You're just doing it all sort of virtually. So there's no way for them even to ask you for that information because they have no idea. I mean, they could probably figure something out at some point, but they have no way of knowing how it's really going to land on your face. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely an in-person necessity for good professional fit, and any eye doctor will tell you the same. I mean, I'm sure that's the bane of their existence with their clients. It's just, well, I got these with your prescription, but it didn't work. And then they do the test and they look at how the lens is sitting and where the prescription is, and they'll just be like, dude, here's what happened, So it's always, caveat emptor, do be buyer beware, especially if you have a stronger prescription. There's really no way to do that online.
No.
I think really well.
I think that's the learning that I just got, is like, it's just not going to happen. I think to the point of your person that came in with the googly eyes, you can get the glasses, not prescription, and then try and bring them to people that can fit. And then maybe in that case, I think this is a fun fact that people need to be aware of, because I truly think I appreciate the online stuff, but not if I'm buying stuff that truly is not going to help me and no one can fix it but the company and they refuse to, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
right?
that's bad.
Yeah.
That's just
It's
bad.
like, okay, no, I'm no longer a customer of you. Okay, so
Exactly.
to that end, are there like common misconceptions that people have about eyewear, or is there anything that you hear and you're like, that's weird, like that's like, where did that come from? But like anything that's a misconception about eyewear that you have had to address, and what does that look like?
Well, the one thing I know is that not everyone is aware of all the different, just speaking about lenses
Mm,
and your prescription, all the different materials that glasses can be made out
mhm,
of and their
mhm,
options. They, they make him, oh, my prescription is really strong. And then, you'll look at it and you're like, oh, it's pretty okay. I mean, it's significant, but I've seen worse, everyone has these common, they just think I'm totally blind,
mhm,
you know, but, and that's fine. But I think giving them options in terms of taking their prescription and, giving them an expectation of how good the result can
mhm,
be is something best done in person. I mean, when you're doing that online stuff, how are you picking the different eyeglass materials, the tints, all the options? I mean, I just, enough said about the online thing. I mean, in person is always going to be better
mhm.
with a skilled
With the
person
skill, yeah.
who knows what they're doing. I mean, these are very important aspects. Um, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you can't help it if you see that googly eye frame. You got to grab it. But I think you're right. Do the frame, but do your lenses locally.
Do them. Yes. That. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
It's time for the quick fire. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes. Wait.
Poof.
Ooh. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. First thing that comes to mind. First thing that comes to mind. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird,
Coffee or tea?
coffee, but sometimes tea, especially in winter.
Oh, okay. Wait,
I
I
switch.
think that's great. Favorite color?
Green.
Okay. Like that you're wearing it. Okay. What was the first paying job that you ever had?
I worked at a dry cleaners
Okay.
next to the supermarket.
Cool. Favorite cuisine?
Mexican.
Best in LA.
I just love it.
LA's got some good stuff. Shout out to Las Fuentes. Um, okay. Favorite country that you've traveled to? Hmm.
I think Australia. Australia.
Australia, the Down Under. What's the one app you cannot live without? Mm.
Tick tock. Tick tock.
Okay. What's the
That's my current
I love
problem.
it. What's the one word that you would use to describe your business journey?
Transformation.
Transformation. I love it. If you could have any entrepreneur as a mentor for a day, who would it be?
So easy. Martha
Martha
Stewart.
Stewart.
Love that
I'm
woman.
like, I feel like for me, and I've never said this out loud, but I feel like Sarah Blakely Spanks. Like, I think there's something to be said for her vibes because she also just seems so happy. Like she's just happy, like all the time, or at least whatever we see of her online, it always just
Yeah.
seems so happy. Just,
I appreciate
right?
that.
Like, I like
Yes.
the happy energy vibes. Okay.
Yeah.
Besides your own, what is your favorite small business?
Boy, I'm going to quote my favorite Charles Phoenix, LA dilettante cool guy. Anything homespun and family run. I love it. I love something that you just feel the vibes that they've been doing it for a long time. There's Casa Bianca Pizza here in Eagle Rock. And recently I had to go to a formal wedding. And I'm not that girl, but I went to this really cute shop that my customer actually owns. Her name is Eva Franco, and her mom was running it. She was out of town. It was just this adorable little store in South Pasadena near us. And I just had the greatest experience. She really treated me well. The selection was really interesting, and it was just magical. It was so like just on a random Tuesday afternoon. You have a really great experience. So those are two of my favorites.
I love
there
that.
are many more.
I think I went to like a sample sale because I think Eva Franco was in the Valley at some point, or she lives in the Valley. And I feel like I went to a sample sale and her mom was running the sample sale too. So I remember
her mom is so cute.
I love the mom vibes. Like I'm super into it.
Her mom's
Okay.
name is Violet. So
Violet.
cute.
Violet Franco. I love it. Okay. If you could instantly acquire one new skill instantly, what would it be?
To fly.
Okay.
I was promised flying cars.
Oh,
They are
yeah.
not here. I do
Me.
not want to get a pilot's license, but I want to fly.
Hmm. I'm into it. Yeah. It's like
To my
Jetson.
Jetsons
Yeah,
version.
yeah, there you go. The Jetsons room. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, if you could time travel to any period in history, which era would you visit?
Oh, that's really good. I I always find so many exceptions with the past, so I will say the future.
The future. The Jetsons. Okay. What is your favorite way to rest or recharge?
It's sadly, relaxing on the couch. We just got a really extra large television too. Mm. And my husband's an audio engineer, so we have like an incredible surround sound system. And oh my God, the immersion, the
Is that
immersion.
okay?
So, anyways, um, that might be how I relax. But I
I
watch
like
really
it.
good things. I'm
Okay.
very discerning.
Hey, that's fine. Okay, what's the favorite? What's your current favorite thing that you're watching?
Real hyper currently, there is a show on Apple TV called Omnivore, and it's
Mm.
about food, but
Mhm.
each show is a different subject about food. So, like, there's a show on salt, there's a show on pigs, there's a show on rice, bananas, and it is,
Awesome.
I guess, written and brought to you by one of the most famous chefs, Rene Redzepi of Noma, outside
Okay.
of Copenhagen, a very fancy restaurant. But it's a really heartfelt kind of anthropological history of some of the great ingredients of our lives, that we need and have. So it's really, and it's gorgeous on that crazy TV. It's very beautiful.
Right. You have like a movie theater in your house. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
You know, I've I serve a lot of teachers, LAUSD teachers and professors, and I think it would be a teacher. I have this fantasy of like, I wonder what my life would have been like if I was a teacher with those
Mm.
summers off and, having to go to other, study abroad or, things
Mhm.
like that. I
Mhm.
think a teacher.
I mean, I'm asking somewhat selfishly, but also I think many others would be curious about this, but like what happens to all the knowledge that you and Amy have? Um like how are you passing down, how are you teaching someone else like everything that you know, because there is such an art to what you do. It's not, you know, to your point, not everyone can just walk in and do what you're doing. And so perhaps you will do some teaching, Katie, because I don't
We already
know.
are.
Oh, good.
We
Oh,
have
good.
we have an employee who's been with us since she was 15. My sister and her took horse riding lessons, and one day her mom said, "Can you use Gabby to answer the phone or something?" And so she started working after school, um, and she's been with us now for, gosh, 8 years, maybe more, 9. She is better than all of us, smarter than all of us, faster than all of us. Her memory is better than all of us. It is very bad when you are 62 and there's a 23-year-old, because then you become like, Gabby, where's the blah, blah, blah? She always knows. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm using you like a crutch. Gabby, can you remember? So yeah, she's taken to it. We'll see. She's still really young, but she's really good at it. So
Shout out to Gabby.
yeah.
Poor Gabby. Okay, so let's actually talk about looking ahead. So where do you see the business in 5 years? Are there any like projects or anything in development that you're excited about?
I mean, I'm always excited about what's coming through the world of eyewear in terms of design and shape and fashion. That's
Mhm.
always going to be my top priority of what I look forward to is the flavor. What's the next flavor? The way eyeglass styles cycle is a longer cycle than fashion, but it gets shorter all the time. But it
Yep.
does have a little longer kind of arc. And
Mhm.
that's always interesting to me. Because we'll always bring in things that are maybe ahead of their time, and oftentimes it can be disappointing when they don't sell because people don't get it yet. But then you're so satisfied a year or two later when it's like it's the thing. That's always that's always great.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
to get ahead of the curve or learn what the curve is. And again, I do say my clients can lead in that sense, because I'll have people coming in, maybe they've traveled somewhere or they have great personal style and they've discovered something. And I like that kind of organic, like, whoa, that's really cool. Like, it kind of informs where I'm going and what I think, it all comes from somewhere else. So yeah, I think it's just the future of the fashion of it. I mean, I want our store to continue to improve and look good and feel good. I mean, that's always there. We don't have any desire to expand. It's not in our playbook, but yeah, just continuing on,
Yeah.
as long as we can.
Well, I'm here for it. Okay, so what advice would you give to another entrepreneur? It could be someone that's looking to open a store. It could just be someone looking to start a business. But what is your advice for them?
For sure, travel.
Mm.
Travel has, for me, been the deepest cut of where I get all my knowledge about everything in life. I was able to travel quite a bit with my old job, and it definitely gives me the ability to relate to people, relate to maybe someone who's from somewhere else, or even places in America. I love traveling across the United States. I like it better than world travel, quite frankly. But yeah, and oddly enough, if you couldn't afford to travel, I actually have a friend during COVID. He started traveling by going on Google Maps and like going down up and down streets of like towns he'd never been to. It was like, and he found this town north of here. I think it's called Los Osos. I can't quite remember.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Los Osos. And he found this guy who distills like small batch bourbons. And he said, we have to go here. And so one day we got in the car and we drove up there and we tasted the bourbon. I mean, because he found it by just virtually traveling. I just thought that was phenomenal. So there's a lot of ways you could see the world.
There is.
Little street by street.
Yeah, we got cameras everywhere. So yeah. That is true. I love that. Okay, everyone, go travel. Be it on a plane or just on your computer, but you can. Yes, I like it. All right. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you were hoping I was going to ask you?
No, but I thank you for being so enthusiastic about your eyewear. It's a pleasure. Makes my life so nice. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Can you tell everyone how they find you? Be it on social or not on TikTok?
Yes, our physical address is 4563 York Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, in the great state of Highland Park. Our web address is www.societyspectacle.com. You can see us on Instagram sometimes at Society of the Spectacle. But yeah, come by if you can, or call us. We can do stuff virtually. We do it with our FaceTime, and we can give you a tour of the shop and send you stuff to look at, and we're all for it. Any way we can do it.
They're the best. So yes, I highly recommend, if you would like a primo eyewear experience, because the quality of the glasses is always top notch, but also the service is even better.
Thank you.
Yes, I would say you always have my vote.
Thanks, Allison.
Best place to get the eyeglasses. All right. Well, I think we did it, Katie. I think we did it. Thank you so much for being on the Dean's List.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Dean's List. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to stay updated, and follow us on Instagram at official_Dean's List and YouTube at It's Official Dean's List. I'm your host, Allison Dean. Until next time.